Hey everybody, welcome back. Tonight we are talking about Tower of God, episode 6. And if you know me, you know that I love deep characters, powers, and world building. And this episode had pretty much all of that. This was a fantastic episode 6. Um let's get right into like what I really liked was my favorite part about it, I think, was just finding out more about the how the powers play into how this ascension of the tower is going to go. They give us this sort of brief description of the different roles that people can have, these different positions. And so I guess there's five basic ones discussed. I don't know if there's going to be others around. I don't know if people can potentially be multiple, but they are fisherman, spear bearer, light bearer, scout, and wave controller. Now, fisherman seems to be like the tank kind of person who it's seemingly like the first one sort of into battle. I might be wrong about that, but it seems like the first fighter. Spear bearer seems to be the person that fights more from a distance. We see that our buddy Rock is a spear bearer, pretty fitting. He likes to fight. I would have maybe thought that he would be like a fisherman, but I guess like the way that he fights, I guess, is a little more in tune with being a spear bearer. A light bearer. Both light bearer and scout seem to be more like supportive kind of classes, positions. Sorry, I'm gonna keep calling them classes. Um, uh, Kun seems to be the light bearer type who supports his allies by sort of like no pun intended, I guess, by literally shedding light on situations and guidance and stuff like that. We don't really know much about the scout position, I don't think yet. I'm very intrigued in that. Uh, I was trying to think of like characters that could potentially be this. I wonder if Rachel might fall into this because we haven't really seen her do anything combative yet. Um, but Scout is supposed to, also go and get information and whatnot and sort of back up their allies in that regard. And a wave controller, as we've seen previously, is sort of the person that is able to use Shinsu as my COVID-19 hair going on. I apologize, but man, do I miss haircuts. But yeah, wave controller is seemingly a person that can use the Shinsu, this like magic water stuff. I don't know if it's always going to look like water, but it seems to do that for now. Is able to sort of manipulate the Shinsu in a variety of ways, either shooting it in like a Kamehameha kind of beam thing, or sliding across like a surface or something like that, enhancing blows, stuff like that, or forming barriers and healing, I'm assuming, can be used with that. So I love powers and I love the world building here. I like how we're getting sort of a description of what the abilities might be, the different sort of classes. Reminded me of like Hunter x Hunter, where we have like the Nen system, which was something that I really found intriguing. It gets to be kind of a lot when they're talking about it extensively, which they do in Hunter x Hunter, in my opinion. But I love when the creator takes the time to sort of like describe these different things. So that was cool, and each of our main characters, get assigned to a different one. Bam, the main character, is a wave controller, which seems to be the most rare because in his classroom kind of deal, his lessons, there's only like 6 people, and it seems like it's unique, and it's probably one of the more difficult ones, I think, because you have to sort of go into this like meditative state almost and make this contract with the power that you're going to use. And it's interesting with Bam because he does this, and when he goes to make this contract, it's referred to as sort of like being I think it's a shackle on him, like a hindrance. And that I was thinking about that a little bit, and I was wondering, well, if Bam seems special to this world. He seems like he's the irregular, right? And I don't really know how many. Like, I think he's, as far as I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong down below, he's the only irregular like around, unless Rachel is also one. But he seems to be able to do all of these crazy things. One would think maybe for plot armor, but there's probably something that they're going to get into down the road. Or being an irregular, I wonder if that tips the scale of this sort of position chart in a way or something like that, or if it makes him more... He has easier access to being a wave controller. Will he be able to do multiple things? Who knows? But I wonder... I wonder if being a wave controller... Or, I'm sorry, if being an irregular helps him being the wave controller, or if it hurts him in that regard, because the powers seem to be the when he makes his contract, it seemed like this is going to be a hindrance for him, and of course he's Bam, he's kind of oblivious to everything, like he's a good representation, I think, of the audience, whereas we don't necessarily know what's going on, especially if you're anime only like me. So sorry, I have not read the webtoon at all, so please no spoilers down below for anybody else that's anime only. But I don't know. It's interesting, and I can't wait to see how that sort of plays out. I kept thinking about that scene, and I was like, what does he mean by that? So there's only a few of them. There's also this other guy, Ho, I think is the name, the blonde guy with the horn, and who's also a wave controller, who seemed to make his contract with ease, and then as soon as Ho gets back to like the room, like completely like staggers over, was sort of maybe masking the actual efforts that he actually may have done. So it's interesting. As the spear people, we got Rock, who their training is literally throwing a spear at this far away target. At first he can't do it, he gets super frustrated, and then he does it, and then he's elated. Like I love Rock here. He's cool. He's like the big guy, but he has some heart, and I can't wait to see where his character kind of goes down the line. I want to see like fights with him more than anything, but I like how he's more than just the muscle, if that makes sense. And then I mentioned how we have Kun, who is the light bearer type, and he seemingly gets like he goes on this like computer and he gets intel about people, specifically and importantly Anak. But we'll get to that in one moment, because there's something that I sort of like skipped over, and that's something in this episode I think that is pretty interesting, is that we get a whole lot of like comedy and like friendship type moments among these characters, because they're in this, we're at the stage where it's not seemingly not as cutthroat for the time being, and we get some interactions between people that were literally like just fighting, now finding out that they're going to have different roles, and it's sort of like a team effort from now on, and we're sort of making allies along the way. We have these cool like cafeteria, like school kind of like cafeteria scenes, where people are asking to sit with one another and stuff like that. You got characters like Anak that obviously aren't really interested in that sort of thing, but then we get my girl Endorsi, who now we know her name. We know waifu's name, everybody. Early waifu on, like I'm probably gonna be looking at this like a long time from now when I know more about Tower of God, and maybe not like the fact that she's my favorite female character so far. Kun, by the way, 100% my favorite male character. I mean, Kun, I see so much of my like own personality in this guy, and he is pretty much how I would be. Although I'm guessing I would be more toward the scout side, if a scout is sort of as I'm picturing it to be. Because I feel like they're implying that I think the light bearer is way more in tune with those around him, where I think the scout is more individualistic, if that makes sense. And I might be completely wrong about that. It's all just speculation. So I think I would be more the scout guy, as necessarily not the greatest team player in the world, as I can be. But I definitely, in terms of personality, way more in line with Kun than some of the other characters. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we'll see down the line. But I also like how he's very defensive of Bam and his friends and stuff like that. But there's still some sort of mystery to him. I like that a lot. He's, I think, one of the most interesting characters in the show. But he ain't no grill. So let's get back to Endorsi. Endorsi goes to sit with the main cast and stuff like that at this at the cafeteria tables and explains that she's one of the princesses of Jihad. And now this, we've known that she's called Anak an imposter before. She has this confrontation in the cafeteria with Anak, and we learn that they aren't related. So they're not all like sisters in the same like kingdom or whatever. That kind of seemed like it made sense to me. It seems like they're chosen. They're either like bred or chosen for this sort of thing. It's selected among like other people to be, in this higher echelon of warrior, I guess I would say. I don't. Are they all just called regulars? I don't know. Whatever the term for, they're not normies. Okay. Um, and they're each given one of the swords. The Black March, the Green April, the whatever. And so we found out that my girl Endorsi here is supposedly one of them. And they have this like in the in their class they get this like cool sort of like battle where they're knocking people off of these like pillar things, and Dorsey and Anak are in the same class area, and they said only 8 people are going to pass this test, so knock everybody else down. Oh, by the way, it's not fatal, but we didn't limit anything about you getting hurt, so you're still gonna fall. You're still gonna fall down. You're still gonna break your shoulder open and shit. I don't know how you break your shoulder open, but yeah, there you go. That's gonna happen, but only 8 of you can survive, and this leads to this like epic fight between Anak and Dorsey, and then we uncover a lot of the truth about Anak, about how she actually is not the princess of Jihad. She's the daughter, or more importantly, the orphan of that former princess. And we get a cool little like flashback scene where we get to see little Anak, excuse me, and her mom seemed pretty cool, but I guess she broke this taboo. I think that it seems like they're not allowed to sort of settle down and have a family, and yeah, so she got punished for that and was supposedly killed by the other princesses. Whether this is true or not, or maybe just something that Anak has been led to believe, we don't really know yet, unless she saw it firsthand. I'm not sure, but now Anak has taken this vow to slay all of the other princesses, and so that's why she was super interested in the fact that Bam had the Black March and everything. But really cool episode. There was stuff with Rachel too. I don't want to kind of skip over that, but like Rachel was sort of like falling behind on like my interest radar in this series, because the series does such a great job of like raising some questions, answering other ones vividly, and leaving you still asking. Does a whole lot better job in that than a lot of anime. So I'm very interested to see more of like a lot of the characters. And then there's Rachel. But with Rachel, she basically, visits Bam while he's unconscious and tells Kun that, hey, don't tell him I was actually here. Just like, it wasn't really me. Tell him I'm not really Rachel. I'm an imposter. Kun sort of sees through Rachel's BS in a lot of this, and Rachel's claiming that she doesn't want them to really, her and Bam, that is, to have a relationship going forward, or be, talking to each other, whatever, going forward, because it would be a burden on both of them. And Kun sort of sees through this, of course, and says, "Well, that's bull. You mean it's a burden on you. It's not really a burden on Bam. Like, Bam would do like anything for you. You abandoned him, and you're trying to do your own thing." And you're claiming that it's for the good of both of you? Like, first of all, how could she really decide what's good for both of them, And I don't know, it's something that I kind of don't like about Rachel's character. She does get kind of like depressed by this, and goes off into a room and eats a bunch of the candy bars that she took from them, and is sulking for a while. And I think in deep thought about like how I don't think she's wholeheartedly into this. I think she's really forcing herself to go on this dream of seeing stars, whatever that's really going to mean, and so ascending this tower. I really like how Kun sort of saw through it, because Kun, I think has a manipulative side to him. So, you're not really gonna bullshit a bullshit artist. You know what I mean? So he kind of sees through her. And he sort of goes along with it and sort of like tells Bam, he sort of follows the script with it, but is like, still also on Bam's side. Like tells her that, hey, if, she doesn't really want to interact with you, it's for some reason on her end. And basically, and kind of reassuring that like they're friends, like that team, you have the Coon, Bam, and Rock, the dream team here, and I think Rachel might be an interesting character down the line, but I'm certainly more interested in everybody else around. I liked the Anak backstory that we got here. We're about to get I'm assuming, epic fight between Endorsi and Anak. I want to find out more about Endorsi too. But yeah, I think this is a really good episode because it did both, because it did like sitting around joking, the cafeteria high school kind of like clique kind of vibes and stuff like that, and making friends and stuff like that, and then it had its action moments, and then it had its like sad moments, and then it had characters really digging into characters' heads or making you ask questions about what characters are really thinking about, analyzing the characters, and world building. So, we got powers, we got world building, and we got cool characters going on. This was a hat trick for me. I thought this was a really good episode. What did you guys think of this episode? Let me know down below. If you like what I'm doing here, please hit that subscribe button. And if you really, really like what I'm doing here and you feel generous, please check out that Patreon link down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. My name is Miasma, and I'll see you next time.